Hello and welcome to Adult Education at Covenant Presbyterian Church. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to learn, and we are learning about our neighbors globally. Last week we had the pleasure of hearing from Jed Cobal in Peru, and this week we have the distinct honor of hearing from Betsey Mo, who serves in Guatemala. But before we turn it over to Betsey, let us pray. Holy and wonderful God, we give thanks for this day and for the chance to learn. We give thanks for our neighbors whom you call us to love, and for the Spirit which empowers us to learn how best to love our neighbors. We ask that you grant us humility so that we in our partnerships may recognize the image of God in our neighbor and not just as ourselves. Open us to your Spirit, open us to your ways, help us discern your will, and give us hearts of service. Amen. All right, well, Betsey, it is all you. So I'm going to spotlight your screen and take it away.
Okay. Well, thank you all for having me today. It really is such a pleasure to be with you, and always a chance to have fellowship with a congregation is a real joy for me. I'm going to talk today about who I am, who we are as a family here at the Mo household, our call into mission. I'm going to talk about our last year that's been very unique in terms of having a first year in mission work. And I'm going to tell you a little more about SEDEPCA and what SEDEPCA does and how SEDEPCA is involved with congregations. So that's where I'm kind of headed. And just so I kind of like, instead of just presenting like a travel log or, like a slideshow, I want you to think about this as if you're sitting down to read a memoir, that you can really get something out of this for your own life and not just say, this is about her, this is about their family, or this is about ministry in Guatemala, which I'm kind of involved with at arm's length. But when you read a memoir, often it's amazing how, if it's a really good memoir, no matter how far from your own experience this experience is, it will resonate with you if it's written well. And so I'm hoping that as I share my story and all of this stuff about SEDEPCA, that you kind of experience it like a memoir, and that you are hearing resonating things about what God is doing in your life and in your congregation, and you can connect through it that way. So I am going to share a PowerPoint. It's mostly pictures and pictures of my family and the things that we've been doing to kind of keep it interesting here. So let me screen share. And we'll start the slideshow. Okay. So my husband and I are in this together. We're mission co-workers together, but how it works is I am in charge of doing the job in Guatemala at SEDEPCA, and Eric gets to manage our household. You're gonna meet my 3 kids. And so he's the logistics kind of behind the scenes guy that makes things happen. We've been married for 25 years, and we've always kind of seen each other as a team. So this works out well for us. So this is who we are. We have a son, Henry, who is 18, and he's a senior in high school. He is looking at colleges right now, and the May 1st deadline, it's really interesting to be in this world. Everybody crams in college visits these last couple of weeks of April, and I had no idea that's how it works. But Henry and I just went over to Seattle a couple days ago, and I was just emailing your pastor, Charlie, and he said he was going, or his wife was going on college visits too. So that we're all in this together right now. But Henry is probably going to go to Seattle Pacific University, but he wants to take a gap year and be with us in Guatemala. Okay, let's see. Owen is a freshman right now. So Henry and Owen are in school together, although not as often as they'd like to be. They only go to school 2 or 3 days a week. Zoe is 10. She's a fifth grader. And then that's Eric and that's me. So it's it is this moving to Guatemala is something that we all have to kind of figure out together as a family, and that's going to be a challenge, but we've been anticipating it for a while and everybody's pretty excited. Owen is maybe the least excited because he has a real tight group of friends and he is nervous about leaving, but as it gets closer, he's coming to terms with it, let's just say. So, like I said, Eric and I have always been in this together. We've seen our marriage as something that we have to figure out how to allow God to use each one of us, and kind of we give each other the grace to follow our own sense of call. So I'm a pastor. I've been working in the PCUSA as an ordained minister since 2003. And I've served churches in Denver and in Spokane, where we're living right now. Eric is a professional trumpet player, and he has played in the Spokane Symphony for maybe 10 years. And then he's played in the Denver Brass and the Colorado Symphony. So usually, like when I was in doing church work, our calls were very complimentary because he could often play in the church. And, you know, our church always had like first dibs on a really incredible Easter trumpet player, and, you know, enter into all the music ministry stuff at our church. This call to Guatemala is more challenging because he's in this position of, okay, I have no idea what it's going to be like when we move. I know that I have this portable talent that helps people connect, but who knows what that's going to look like. So we're entering this new phase of ministry in Guatemala with trepidation, but also this trust that God has always been faithful, and we're just trusting that God will be faithful in this too, showing Eric the way that he gets to enter in and use his gifts. But for me, why Guatemala, and why after all of these years in church ministry, and I've, you know, done worship ministry and adult education and youth ministry, all kinds of things in the church. But why after all this time are we called to Guatemala? In 1993, when I was a sophomore in college, I went with a group of 25 students, and that's what the picture is here, to Central America. And we spent a whole semester touring through Central America and learning about it. So it was not, we weren't going from place to place doing service projects, but going from place to place, learning about the history and culture and politics, religion in each place. We spent about 5 weeks in Guatemala at that time, and we moved on through 5 countries in Central America. So that had a huge impact on me and how I saw ministry, global relationships, and I feel like that has been influencing my ministry in the church even more than I realized, even if we weren't doing hands-on ministry with another church in Guatemala. Here's just a few more pictures. The top one is in El Salvador, and the bottom one is in Nicaragua. We did a 2-week habitat project in Nicaragua, and that was the only project we did, but it was hot and very, very hard work. I think they were really glad to have 25 college students there too. Recently, though, my church in Spokane, Hamblin Park Presbyterian, started going to Guatemala, and we were partnering with Brian and Sandy Thompson Royer as well, and with Richard and Debbie Welch in Coban. And at first, our church just traveled to kind of learn about Guatemala and learn about possibilities. And then we saw this project that Brian and Sandy took us to called Libros para Niños, where there was a school that had a library, almost like a community library in the elementary school. And it was a public school, but members of the community could come and check out books. And of course, the school used their school library. The teachers were trained by a team from the Santiago Atitlan area in Guatemala, and how to use books to teach literacy and a love of reading so that kids would grow up wanting to read. And so we just loved seeing this school and said, could we partner with another school somewhere else in Guatemala where the teachers are wanting something more, and our church could sponsor a school library there, and we could sponsor the teacher training. So Richard and Debbie Welch helped us set that up in a school in Coban. And we started visiting, and we went 3 times to visit this school. And it was just extremely exciting to be in meaningful relationship and know that we were making a difference. But it wasn't us doing it. It was really empowering the teachers to be all that they could be at that school. So for me, it was like something was awakened, this very meaningful cross-cultural ministry that I think I had been drawn to early on, but had just put on hold because of, other life opportunities. So then this intercultural encounters facilitator position opened up with SEDEPCA in Guatemala. SEDEPCA it's the Spanish acronym, and so it doesn't make sense when I say what it stands for. The letters don't quite go with it, but it's the Protestant Center for Pastoral Studies in Central America. And it is this center, and I'll tell you about it a little later, that has 4 different branches of ministry, all about educating people about Guatemala and the issues in Guatemala, the history, about theology. So they equip pastors and lay people in Guatemala to be very faithful stewards of their culture, really, as they minister to other people, to not go about, maybe, as there's kind of this fundamentalism that has taken root in Central America that kind of not necessarily promotes, but maybe that's not too strong of a word, especially the patriarchy and this idea that men have control over women and have the God-given right to dominate. And SEDEPCA does kind of a re-education about that. And they challenge this dominant theology in Central America that pits men over women and rich over poor. So it's just an incredible organization that educates Guatemalans. But this facilitator position is unique because it works with their intercultural encounters, where North American people, so people from the United States and Canada, come to Guatemala to learn and enter into this educational system that SEDEPCA does, and learn about history and culture and theology before going out and doing projects that may do more harm than good. So the Intercultural Encounters Facilitator is the bridge person between North American churches and universities and SEDEPCA. So that is the position I applied for and got. And I was offered the position in January of 2020. So this was something that my husband and I talked over, and he said, it's scary and this would be a huge change for our family. But we have felt like God was calling us into something new. So why not? Let's go ahead and apply. So that's where we're at now. So I would be leading groups normally that come to Guatemala to learn about Guatemala. And in February of last year, at the tail end of Hamblin Park trip, I was able to go to Sedepka and meet my team, the Intercultural Encounters team of Esvin, Rebecca, and Nancy, pictured here. And we took a picture together, and I was anticipating moving in June and, moving into the office there, and that never happened. So this was a rare encounter. It was such a privilege to get to meet them in person and hug at that time. We had no idea what was in store for us. So then we took the leap. March 15th was my last Sunday at Hamblin. And as you can see, it was a packed house. It was, hopefully people were at home watching, because it was really sad. It was the first virtual Sunday at church. And so after 12 years of ministry at Hamblin, I said my goodbye sermon to an empty church. And thankfully, I loved the work I was stepping into, because the closure was not quite what I envisioned. So immediately these adjustments had to be made in the work that we did together, because all of the flights to Guatemala were grounded. The Guatemalan airport was closed from around the 1st of April till the end of September of last year. And now flights are coming to Guatemala, but there's still a lot of distrust, about travel around the world. So the Intercultural Encounters program had to completely rethink. We knew that we weren't going to be receiving groups at least for a year, and now it may be a 2-year break that the program has to take. And here I was stepping into this position and thinking, oh wow, and now the whole mission of this position, the bottom just dropped out of. So immediately we just started thinking creatively about how to still connect people from North America with the people of Guatemala, because these connections are still so important to have. I mean, we've got this migration crisis that is not on hold. I mean, it's even worse now. So we've got to be thinking about this and talking about this in relationship with people of Guatemala like never before. So really the Intercultural Encounters position has become just as important, but the ability to have people travel and encounter Guatemala in person has just gone away. We started meeting virtually, and this was on WhatsApp, I think, or FaceTime or something. And then we are now on a schedule where we meet on Zoom once a week, the 4 of us. And we also, the Sedepka staff of 23 people, we meet once a week. And then there are other meetings throughout as needed. And so I've been able to connect with these new colleagues surprisingly well over Zoom. And together we brainstormed early in the spring last year, how about we try virtual journeys? What if we were to put together these opportunities to travel virtually and keep, we didn't want it just to be a webinar, like this boring kind of travel seminar where we have a speaker and you listen to somebody talk for an hour. We really wanted a virtual journey to feel fun, like you're traveling to Guatemala. So we always include kind of images or videos of bumpy roads. And this virtual journey, we went to Lake Atitlan. And so online, there's all this travel footage that people take while they're like going down a bumpy road or across a lake. And we use that and we put it into this journey experience. And then we do have speakers, but we also have breakout rooms. So you can talk to fellow travelers like you're sitting on a bus next to them and you're processing what you've just heard. We have music, we have some video. It really, because we just were thinking outside the box from the beginning, and we had no preconceived notion of what this should be, except that we want it to be like people are traveling. Virtual journeys have become a real joy to do together. We cover a different topic, and each time we've been doing it about every other month. So we've done history, we've done women in Guatemala and women's issues. We did education, we've done hurricane relief and migration. And this next month, we've done virtual chocolate tastings, which Jeff was referring to. And we'll be doing that again in November, if that's right up your alley. But this next month, on May 19th, we're going to be doing Reading the Bible with New Eyes, so that you get to kind of see what a theological student or a pastor would get if he or she came to SEDEPCA for training. And so you're going to learn a little bit about theology through the eyes of a Guatemalan. We have this guest speaker from Brazil who is a Latin American theologian who is fabulous, and he's going to lead a Bible study. He speaks English. So this is a really great opportunity to kind of read the Bible alongside Guatemalans. So you're all invited to that. I can actually put the link to register in the chat box. I'll do that at the end though. So the adjustments in our family have been really significant too. Of course, the kids had to do online school this year. I made them take this picture at the beginning of the school year, and the masks were just for show at that point, because they were actually just going to step right back into our house, into their rooms, and go to school. But I said, for our memory books, put on the mask, get outside, bring your laptop, and show what the first day of school in 2020 looks like. My husband, this is Eric, playing on a bridge last Easter. He did an Easter video around Spokane, filming himself playing Jesus Christ is Risen Today in all these iconic spots, and different churches were able to use it. And but music is definitely, or performance is different now, and it's been really a hard year on musicians. There have definitely been disappointments. The virtual journeys have been such a fun outcropping of the pandemic, but for our family, it's been very difficult to wait to go to Guatemala, because we were all psyched up to go, and then to say, oh, now we can't go. You need to wait another year. I'm telling you, we have had some real ups and downs in our family of, one kid saying, I just don't want to go anymore. I've just changed my mind. I'm chickening out. And then excited again, and back and forth. It's really disappointing. But we just kind of stick with it. So this is a picture of the SEDEPCA office and what I pictured seeing every day when I would walk into work. And instead, this has been my view out my home office window in most of the year in Spokane. It's funny, last spring, after the winter, early in the spring, when we thought we had our last snow, we gave away all our snow shovels because we really thought we were going to be moving to Guatemala, and we had to get some new snow shovels this year. But that's just representative of the kind of expectations that we've really had to adjust. But there have been really good surprises for us. So on the left is my family having online church, going to online church, and we all belt out the hymns from our couch, and it's been a pretty good year for us to bond as a family. And then on the right is my Intercultural Encounters team, and how good it's been to connect virtually with them. It's, for if you think that mission work or engagement with mission is all about having to be right there next to them, this year has definitely expanded that vision, because I see how much is possible from advocacy and partnership and collaboration, even from a distance, which is a word for churches, I think, to take seriously. You don't have to be right there, although that side by side, getting your hands dirty ministry is really important. There are many people in your congregation that probably can't go to Guatemala, will never go to Guatemala, but they can still be involved. And it's very meaningful ministry work, especially now that we have Zoom and other ways to connect with each other across the miles. So that's been a really great learning and adaptation for me as a pastor. And then I just want to share the hope that we have. I've been really clinging to these exilic verses, the exile texts like Jeremiah and Isaiah and Esther and Daniel, these texts where people are not quite where they had envisioned themselves being. They're in Babylon, they're not in Israel. But God is still doing something in this other kind of place where they are in life. And so I'm clinging to this exile text, that God knows the plans that God has for us as a church community, as a world community, and for our family, of course. But God is here, and God promises to give us a future with hope. Personally, we have this hope that we will be moving in July. We're applying for travel right now through the PCUSA, and they've had a ban on travel for all employees for the past year. And we really hope that we are able to move in July and kind of start that new phase of ministry and acclimate to life in Guatemala before in-person groups start arriving at SEDEPCA. And we expect to receive groups starting in January of 2022. And then we have this hope that we've been experiencing these new ways of doing ministry and life together, and we will continue doing that, that God is leading us through this new ways. And I've been really encouraged. SEDEPCA has thrived in the past year, partly because they are nimble and pretty tech savvy, and they were able to keep all of their staff connected online, and they are working from home, and they're being pretty effective. So let me stop there. I wanted to share, yeah, you can learn more about us at our website through the PCUSA. And if you just search PCUSA, Betsey and Eric Moe, or Betsey Moe, you will come to this page. And this is where you can learn about us and read all of our newsletters and kind of get more information that way. Let's see. But I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions, because I would like to. There's a 3-minute video that SEDEPCA has that explains their ministry a little more, so you can see that. But any questions about our family or our work in Guatemala in the past year?
Yeah, so I just removed your spotlight, but it could be that everybody's stuck in speaker view now. So if you could, if you know how to shift to gallery view,
Got it.
I would recommend doing that now that we're in asking questions so we can see each other. However, if you don't know how to do that, then I guess we'll be okay. But I'm looking at everyone here. And so if you have a question, you can raise your hand physically, you can raise it virtually. You can and you'll need to unmute yourself when you do have a question. Barb, I see you, and then Ginger will go next.
Thank you so much for talking to us today. Very interesting and very challenging, I can imagine. How much does internet connectivity generally down in Guatemala complicate what you were hopefully going to be doing?
Um, the internet, everyone that works at SEDEPCA has internet capability at their home, and then they have internet at the office, so they could always go into the office. There's, like I said, there's 23 staff people. It's the instability of the internet that's a real challenge. Often we'll lose a couple people in the meeting. They say, se fue la luz, the power went out. And so power and internet, it is definitely an issue. And doing these virtual journeys has been possible, and succeeding at the virtual journeys has largely been possible because my husband, Eric, runs the videos and everything behind the scenes from our house, which has more stable internet than anyone there in Guatemala. So that's our biggest issue from intercultural encounters, is just the instability of the internet. But we've had speakers there in Guatemala and contributing in the virtual journey, and nobody's ever really gone out. We always have a plan B. What if the speaker loses power right when they're in the middle of their talk? But that has not happened yet. I would say I'm always struck at the miracle of how many people around Guatemala can be involved in a virtual journey from really remote areas. We've got people who can speak from, I've got a picture in my mind because of where my church has gone to visit in Guatemala. We had to take this truck. You crawl into the back of a pickup truck to get to this community. That's the only way you can get all the way there. And they take you in the back of this pickup truck to the top of this mountain. And there are just little houses kind of nestled in the trees up there. And we can connect with them. They still have cell service, and we can connect with them virtually and have these meetings. And then, we have a translator, and I'm picturing where this person is speaking from, and I am blown away that we are doing this. We're having a conversation with a person in the middle of nowhere who speaks a different language. So I know there are challenges, and certainly in Guatemala on the whole, we think we have challenges with our kids not having access to internet and online school. Guatemala is a totally different story. But there are still these small miracles where we are connecting with people that we would have never been able to connect with directly 10 years ago.
Wonderful.
So Ginger was next.
Yeah, I was muted. And then Bob, I see your hand too. Sorry, I was, Ginger, go ahead.
It's fine. It's fine. Betsy, first of all your sharing, obviously for those of us that have made trips or several trips, some of us, I'm sitting right next to one on the screen that was probably some of my, because it's always the younger people that were just the most awesome part of our trips. But all that you've shared, what sticks out in my mind the most, and I'll get emotional here, sorry, is how your children are feeling about moving. Because even as adults, I would leave my kindergarten classroom every year for a week. And every year, no matter how much experience I had going to Guatemala, it was always, oh, can I do this again? But then when we came back, and what I could share with 5-year-olds and with my kindergartners, plus just what it did to us as just human beings, it sounds like I just give you a thumbs up, and it's very natural for your kids, you guys too, for feeling what this move will be. And I just, thank goodness you've shared here so we know exactly who you are and who can be in Covenant's prayers. So thank you for doing this. You've done a wonderful job sharing what's going on with what you're trying to do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad that that connected.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ginger.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, yeah, would you?
Will your sons be able to get adequate academic education while they're spending time there, or will it just be sort of a break in all academia and more of a cultural experience?
Yeah, we've definitely weighed the educational options, and because of their, none of our kids speak Spanish very well. They're all in Spanish classes. We wanted them to not, well, we didn't want to homeschool for one. um, so we are looking at the international schools there where English is spoken, and that where they will still be able to learn Spanish. So the international schools are really, really good. And maybe the biggest challenge there is trying to choose one that's not so elite. We want them to have a real experience of Guatemala and not just be part of this upper crust while we're there. And that's a real challenge, but we didn't want them to lose a few years of their educational life. So we've narrowed it to an international school in Antigua. Basically, CEDEPCA is based in Guatemala City. And so we were looking at living in Guatemala City, but the schools there, one of the international schools didn't have room for Zoe, and one of them didn't have room for Owen, and one of them was totally virtual. So we could have just done virtual school from Spokane, but we wanted our kids to meet people, meet kids. So there is a school in Antigua that's doing a hybrid model, and they're using their outdoor space, and they're going to be able to do in-person school next year. And that's kind of narrowed our search naturally to Antigua. And since I'll be working from home mostly next year, it doesn't matter how long my commute is to CEDEPCA. If I only have to go a few times or even once a week would be fine to drive in from Antigua. But yeah, they'll be going to an international school and getting a really, really good education, I think.
How long is that commute between the two cities?
I hear it's about 75 minutes.
Okay.
So it's significant, but it's doable if I don't have to do it very often.
Thank you.
I do appreciate the irony of you not wanting to go down there and homeschool them, and then this year hits for the last year and having school at home.
I know, it's true. My husband actually ordered a dissection kit online. The kids are doing just the online public school, but he just got so disgusted with how they're really not getting to do anything. So he ordered this kit, and it came with a frog and a cow's eye and a worm and something else. But so they've been doing a little bit of homeschool on the kitchen table. It's been very interesting.
Sounds interesting. And so their the kids' Spanish speaking and comprehension is baseline. How about you and Eric?
My Spanish is pretty good. Eric and I all year have been in Spanish language classes with a school in Antigua that is doing online tutoring. So, just like if you were to go down and go to language school, this is the online version of that. So Eric was starting at a beginner level. I was starting at an advanced level, but still wanting, I just need to keep improving. And then I've got all the staff meetings are in Spanish at CEDEPCA. So it was jumping right in for me. So that's kind of where we're at. Eric's beginner, but I'm pretty comfortable with my Spanish.
Great. How's the accent in Guatemala? I know some places have a really clear accent, some places have a really tough
Guatemala
accent.
is clear. They pride themselves in that. It's a pretty straightforward Spanish accent.
That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have other folks with questions? Bob again, and then Sally, I'll come to you after Bob. Actually, you know what, Bob, since you've asked the question already, I'm going to give it to Sally. And then you.
I was just going to ask you, once groups are able to come back to Guatemala, we still want to be connected with our little church in Santo Domingo. Would you be able to work with us and help us do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I'm
does
really
it-
glad you asked that, because churches who aren't necessarily aware of SEDEPCA's ministry don't know how it works with what they're already doing. SEDEPCA is able to offer so much. And I wish, as a pastor at Hamblin, that I had known about SEDEPCA's work before we started going down. Because whenever when you're taking a group from a church, there are people that are just kind of coming in fresh. They don't know much about Guatemala. They're just there to learn. SEDEPCA takes people from where they are at baseline of knowledge and does that really important cultural education. And then they will help you with transportation and translation. If you already have an established project or a relationship with the community, SEDEPCA will take you and your church members there and kind of be resources for you and translators. So we have quite a few churches that have established relationships with SEDEPCA, and they have their own projects 3-4 hours away from Guatemala City. And it's just I'm thinking, wow, that would have made our lives so much easier as a church, that we're not trying to piece together our own baseline education about what we're doing and civil war in Guatemala and all that stuff. And then let's go do this book project. So yes, absolutely. And you can go on SEDEPCA's website and kind of learn about their pricing. I think it's extremely affordable. But then you've got your transportation and your translation taken care of.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
So it might look like you spend a day or two in Guatemala City with doing education through SEDEPCA, and then you go out and you do your project.
That's awesome. So I'm looking at the time and just being mindful of the time. I do have to examine comprimands in about 5 or so minutes. And I know, Betsy, you do have a video that you'd like to show. So Bob and Ginger, I know you both had your hands up. Ginger rescinds her question, as is her right. Bob, if you'd like to ask if this is a quick question, you can go ahead.
Well, the quick question was, I think you talked about the women's roles in Guatemala and how they're somewhat limited due to culture. And will you be trying to help people improve that situation for women while you're there in Guatemala? And if so, how?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is not my role personally, but SEDEPCA has an entire, they've got 3 or 4 staff people. That's what they do. And there are workshops and projects actually through the PCUSA that educate women and adolescent girls about seeing themselves as created in the image of God. So, and in fact, that's part of the video that I am going to show is it tells about what they're doing in women's ministry to educate women.
Thank you.
I am going to put in the chat box right now the link to register to our next virtual journey if you're interested. And if you click on that link, it'll take you to the registration page, and it has a lot of information about it. So you're not going to be automatically registered. You'll be able to read about it and then decide if you'd like to be a part of it. But this is open to everybody.
And I will also add to Betsy, if you wouldn't mind sharing some resources with me after this. I've taken attendance. I know everyone who's here, and I have all your email addresses. So at some point next week, when I get some resources, I'll forward them out to you all as well. So they don't disappear with the chat.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, I'm opening up the SEDEPCA video, and then I will share my screen here when I get it. Okay, here we go. And back, share screen, share sound. See this? And in communities, the development of pastoral actions. Okay, are we good?
Yes, yeah, we're good.
Okay, thank you. SEDEPCA's mission is to promote in persons and in communities the development of pastoral actions that are innovative and transformative in their contexts for the construction of a more just world. Biblical and theological education. During the COVID-19 emergency, we have served 311 students in different parts of Guatemala and the United States through classes in 20 courses, including the history of Guatemala and Introduction to the Old Testament, among others. For the Biblical and Pastoral Institute, we offered the course Comforting in Times of Crisis via WhatsApp with women from Fraternidad de Presbiterianas Mayas and Friends in Shela. Women's Ministry. Violence against women has increased during the COVID-19 pandemic. SEDEPCA's Women's Ministry program has been practicing solidarity with women and their families through pastoral actions, raising awareness and offering support to families plagued by domestic violence. We have accompanied women by telephone calls, WhatsApp messages, and in some cases, accompanying women to the police to file reports. We also continue virtual classes and encourage women to participate in webinars with topics related to women's rights. Disaster Ministry. The Disaster Ministry's objective is to strengthen the capacity of individual and community resilience to lessen the impact of humanitarian crises. We have been responding to the COVID-19 emergency by providing 1,455 food baskets for 7,275 people, as well as providing psychosocial support. We also have given 1,630 hygiene kits to Casa del Migrante and others, and are supporting local partners with recovery of livelihoods for families in Coban, Chimaltenango, and Shela. Intercultural encounters. Even though groups were postponed this year, we have been in contact with friends and churches in the United States and Canada by sending encouraging reflections in weekly and monthly newsletters. We also had a virtual workshop for group facilitators about self-care during this pandemic. We launched the concept of virtual journeys to share our work and to invite people to learn different topics in more focused sessions. Among the main topics of our virtual journeys are history and social-political context of Guatemala, SEDEPCA's programs, migration and deportation, exploring women's experience in Guatemala, and education in Guatemala. In every journey, we focus on challenges and changes in the wake of COVID-19. We recognize that living toward God's new creation requires a transformation of our minds. For SEDEPCA, the root of change is through education. We invite you to continue walking along with us. Thank you. Okay, so that's the organization I work for that I love. And I'm so grateful for all of your partnership too in this crazy mission journey of mine.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Well, it's just a thrill and an honor to have you here and to welcome you into this virtual space. We're really, I personally am, and I can say, and I'm going to say good authority, that we as a congregation are thrilled that we can continue this journey with you and to keep partnering with you through this. So a true joy and an opportunity to expand our understanding of God's kingdom and who our neighbor is. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you all.
I'm going to close this with a quick prayer, and then I'm going to end the meeting promptly. So let us pray. Holy and gracious God, we give thanks for the ways in which you bring us to life, the ways in which you provide us with resilience and adaptability to new challenges, the ways in which you give us the strength to carry on. We give thanks for Betsey and her ministry and the ministry of Sedefka. We give thanks for the opportunities for partnerships and the chances to learn and grow together. May we continue this journey together, knowing that we are one body with many parts. And these parts, while different in gifts and skills, are no less beloved and valued than any other. And so let us move forward in faith, knowing that the body of Christ moves together. Amen.
Amen.
All right, take it easy, everybody. See you all sooner or later.
Thanks,
Bye.
Betsy.